This hour sponsored by Dell Technologies, enabling digital transformation for media workflows.
This is NAB Show Live.
We're here today with two gentlemen talking about a topic you may not have heard of called virtual production. Thanks for joining us. Directly to my right is David Morin, who's head of Epic Games Los Angeles Lab. And next to him is Brendan Dowdle, Chief Operating Officer of Arraiy. Hope I haven't mangled your name.
Yep.
So first of all, I'd like you to introduce yourselves in terms of what your company does. I think we've all heard of Epic Games, David, but what is Epic Games Los Angeles Lab?
Well, Epic Games is the maker of the Unreal Engine, which is used to do many games and used increasingly in all kinds of industries to do real-time visualization. And as the use of Unreal has developed in other industries, Epic Games is opening offices and labs to help the users of Unreal develop and support their work in visualization.
Oh, that sounds really, really interesting. I'm sure you'll be able to tell us some of the projects they're working on.
Absolutely.
A little later on in our conversation.
Yep.
Now, Brendan, I've been following virtual reality, but I'm new to your company. Tell us a little bit about when you were founded, what you do, how you intersect with the virtual production world.
Sure, of course. So Arraiy is a machine learning and computer vision platform for media and entertainment, and we're really targeting automating some of the very manual processes that go into creating high-end it's called visual effects or mixed reality content. And so our first solution, which we're launching here at NAB, is it's called Deep Studio, and it's a software suite that allows our customers to essentially leverage machine learning in their workflows to automate things like camera tracking, object tracking, and in the future, matting without green screen, extracting depth information from the scene. So what we want to do is really simplify the process of extracting the scene information and scene geometry and actually stream all of that information into a game engine like Unreal to allow mixed reality content to occur much more freely and easily for our customers.
Interesting. Now, have the two companies worked together? Have you interchanged?
Yes, at Epic we encourage the work of companies like Arraiy to use the engine as a platform to develop a lot of the content. We try to provide the hardcore real-time tools, and we have many partners at NAB that are using the engine.
Excellent. Well, for those who are watching who may not know what virtual production is, let's talk a little bit about what it is, maybe what it isn't. And I think there's probably some films you can refer to as examples of the use of virtual production.
Yes, virtual production is a long history, in fact, that goes back in the film business to Robert Zemeckis, and maybe the first one was the Polar Express, when there was a lot of motion capture that was used to capture actors and bring that information in the virtual world, and then do all kinds of things that are impossible to do with real live action. One of the highlight moments was Avatar, which was a virtual production movie entirely done in that way. And it was also a highlight in terms of cost and expense. It was an expensive movie to do. And ever since then, virtual production has been a kind of an aspirational process that has become more and more affordable to normal filmmakers that have normal budgets. And that's really what we're seeing now with the Unreal Engine coming into the scene, from the gaming side to the film and TV and a lot of other industries. Now there is a tool that's affordable. You can use it for free. It comes in with a lot of built-in tools to do virtual production and a lot of openness to get our partners to bring their skill set to the virtual world.
Now, I think to understand the benefit of virtual production, you kind of have to look at it from the point of view of the director in a way, don't you? I mean, what did Jim Cameron want that virtual production gave him on Avatar?
Well, Jim Cameron wanted to do a movie that looked like a live action movie, but taking place in a faraway planet with aliens. And that had been done before with normal visual effects that have this post-production model where you shoot your actors on a green screen or on a set with nothing, and you ask them to imagine that they'll be a planet and aliens and all kind of things. But Jim Cameron wanted to do it at a level that was nearly everything was going to be digital, but he
Right.
really wanted the performance of his actors nonetheless. So he essentially, in his mind, as he's done for many other movies, kind of created a blend of the technology and the art that would suit his creative goal, was to visualize on set this world so that the artists, not just the actors or the directors, but the director of photography and the art department and everybody on set could have a view of this world. Even if it was a low resolution view, it was enough to give people on set a sense of what they were shooting against, and it made a better movie. It's perhaps the biggest success of Avatar, that this movie resonated so much to the audience worldwide in an emotional level, and it was an entirely digital movie.
And I think for directors and actors, everybody on the set, to interact with things that aren't there is a lot more difficult than interacting with even proxy CG images, where you can...
Yes, it's about providing the virtual world to the normal filmmaking and TV making process.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that it goes as far back as Polar Express with Robert Zemeckis.
It does, and there has been many movies since then, and in parallel, the broadcast world, like here at
Yes.
NAB, has been doing a lot of virtual sets. So we walk here and there's a large number of companies doing one form or another of virtual set for broadcast. Many of them are using Unreal Engine now to be able to bring the next level of 3D assets into their world. So the Weather Channel, the Future Group, many of our partners, Zero Density, are on the floor and are using the Unreal Engine for broadcast. And the common thread is that you want to bring real-time live computer graphics to your application, so you can see what you're doing, you can shoot what you're doing the way you do with normal live action.
Right, excellent. So Brendan, talk about virtual production from the point of view of your company and what you're doing.
So it's really interesting to hear all of the history, and we're trying to, we're kind of the new kids on the block and trying to make it even easier for our customers to leverage virtual production techniques. And I think for us, virtual production is a creative enablement for our customer base. It allows them to pre-visualize the final comps in the scene as they're filming. So we partnered with Unreal or Epic Games, The Mill, and did an advertisement with GM, which is called the Blackbird, where we provided the tracking solution behind the Blackbird. And really the benefit for The Mill and the ad executives at GM was that they could see the Camaro in the shot as they were filming, even though that Camaro wasn't there. And so for a variety of reasons, cars are not available for the actual ad, but to give the ability for the director and the ad executive to understand how that commercial is going to look was something that was a huge value proposition and was able to be accomplished through kind of state-of-the-art computer vision machine learning. So what we want to do is just make it very easy for these techniques to enable creative freedom for our customers.
Now, I remember the Blackbird project. I believe I wrote about it, and it was at the time that occurred that was pretty breakthrough, correct?
Yep.
I mean, explain again, what were the ways was this the first time then that this kind of virtual production had been used in an ad, or?
So this was the first time, at least for certain, it was used on a car commercial. I'm sure
Correct.
It's been used in studio environments, but the Mill came to us with a challenge of we want to be able to track this car with sub-pixel accuracy from another moving car on a road. And so what we were able to do is create a piece of software that was able to provide the tracking of that object without any additional hardware. It was a purely software-based solution, so that they could pre-visualize that CG vehicle in that scene. And that was all being rendered with Unreal and then streamed back to the directors and the production crew that was executing on the advertisement.
Now, I'm curious, you said a software-only solution. What is the benefit of that versus a hardware-based solution?
So a lot of the virtual production solutions today, at least in terms of extracting the scene information, like where is a camera in three-dimensional space? In computer vision, it's called pose estimation of a camera. Where are objects in three-dimensional space? Pose estimation of objects. This is all largely done with a lot of hardware, whether that's attached to the camera, whether that's through mocap systems. So through machine learning, we're able to essentially learn and memorize objects in the scene itself, and actually can precisely predicts the pose of the camera and pose of objects in the scene just through what's called inference, the inference step of the machine learning model. So eliminating the need for hardware and allowing our customers just to use their broadcast camera or their cinematography camera or even their iPhone.
Right, and I know car commercials are kind of the most challenging in advertising. They get the most money, the most attention. So was this the first time that your two companies worked together? Was on this project?
This was indeed. So this, and I believe that there was a bunch of people at the mill and Epic and Arraiy that came together to make this this possible, and it was presented at GDC in 2017. It really is kind of where we started to get our feet wet within the virtual production space. So.
You know, it's interesting because I know Epic Games has been around. I don't know what year it was founded, but it's been around for a fair amount of time, as has the Unreal Engine. What technologies have enabled this game engine technology to cross over for its use in media and entertainment?
In other industries?
Yes.
The most important feature, if you want, is the ability to keep a frame rate. It's a simple feature, but it's a very difficult feature to implement and keep on going in a software in general. We come from computer graphics in all of our industries since the 1990s, have had the goal in most industries like film and TV to achieve photorealism, to achieve the ability to create worlds and characters that are undiscernible from real life. But that came at the cost of very long render times. And the whole industry developed in broadcast and in film and television and others, where post-production was the place where you could create those worlds. There was no other way. And it left the creators and the filmmakers, in the case of film and television, with a blank screen, on a green screen, or on a set that had nothing to show. And because of the benefits, because people want to go see those worlds and those new things in theater and TV and everywhere else, a market developed. But the creative side of the industry coped with it. It was more of a, this is the way it is and there's a benefit, so we'll do it. But their normal process is really to shoot something live. And in order to bring the power of visual effects and virtual sets and all of that to the live action side, you need to insert yourself into essentially a video workflow. And the video workflow works at a very specific frame rate. And you have to insert your computer graphics at that level. So Unreal Engine, since the beginning, because it's been developed for games where interactivity and play is essential, it has to keep the frame rate. Every engineers at Epic have a little window with a frame rate of whatever they're doing, and they always have a frame rate target. And if their renders go below 20 milliseconds, say, there's a warning that comes up. So it's like every second you're aware of the frame rate, and that gives you an engine that essentially will hold frame rate, and you can sync with video to do virtual production, particularly in the case when you bring live action and CG together. That's the most fundamental feature. So when it became possible to bring those assets at a level of quality that was near the quality of final renders in visual effects, then the engine was the Unreal Engine was the perfect tool for the job.
That's very, very interesting. And from your point of view, Brendan, what are the technology breakthroughs that have enabled your company to launch?
Well, really, the advent of the GPU, the amount of data that now exists, the compute capacity of the computer chips that exist today. I mean, that's all really been the predicate to allow machine learning to be useful and cost-effective to customers today. So, and then where do we see this evolving over time? Well, machine learning has this uncanny ability to really understand our environments and to extract the kind of essentially the raw data or all of the bits and information from the scene and distill that in a way that it can be useful for production workflows, post-production workflows, and beyond. And so, what we kind of like to think of, if you compare Epic and maybe Arraiy or virtual production is there's, we definitely see the gaming world merging with live action. The gaming world is trying to solve for photoreal in terms of computer graphics, whereas live action is trying to solve for, well, how do we take the live action and it's almost the inverse graphics problem. How do we bring it into a game engine, distill it into its bits, make it manipulable, and make us essentially a digital copy of the reality that can be as modifiable as if it was created as a game. And so those two technologies are starting to merge, and they're merging in virtual production, which transcends just the production workflow, but broadcast, studio broadcast environments, live events. So we're starting to see it all happen in these types of environments. And so I really see kind of the future of this space really kind of evolving beyond just virtual production, but kind of being present in essentially any piece of content that you watch.
And David, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting epic games?
Well, there's many applications of artificial intelligence at epic games at large when it comes with dealing with large worlds and data and worlds that you want to be alive without having to necessarily animate every pieces of it. And in production, there's also a number of ways to be able to, for instance, with the camera, we really need to capture, track the point of view of the camera. This is extremely important in the process of virtual production. You can do it with tools, you can do it with your iPad, with the sensors that are on the iPad, and we have a tool for that. But it's not very precise, it's kind of loose. It's good for scouting, but when you get to real production, you need to be able to have something that is locked. And AI can help in a number of ways. You can get so close with the data, and you can be so precise with the way the algorithms that are prescriptive, but then you often need a bit of a descriptive push on top of it with referring to a lot of external data to kind of hone it in, and AI can help you in that way. And
interesting. It
can help you with the non-playable characters, right? If you populate a scene with crowds and a lot of actors that are not really driven by anyone, AI can help build huge scenes as it has in visual effects.
Well, we're almost ready to wrap up here, but I just want to give each of you 30 seconds or so to describe. If we were back here next year, what do you think we're going to be talking about next year? Where is this going? Where is this leading? It seems like democratization of the technology is one of them, but where are we going?
Absolutely. So we want to bring virtual production specifically from a very specialized, high-end, expensive tool and put it back in the hands of the filmmakers.
Right.
Yeah, and we feel very similarly. I mean, we really see, through AI, through the advances that Epic Games is making with kind of real-time rendering through the game engines, that this is going to become a technology that's going to be so simple to use that even someone on their iPhone one day is going to be able to create similar effects and similar quality content as James Cameron did with Avatar.
Sounds exciting. And the developers in the lab, are they working on these kinds of applications?
Yes. We're all over it with our clients and our partners.
Great. So that means when are we going to start seeing some of the results of what's going on in the lab?
Oh, there are.
They're up.
You can come see us in our booth in the South Hall.
All right, tell us where to find your booth.
Okay, it's in the South Hall, in the Studio Experience booth.
Excellent. And do you have a booth here?
Yes, we do. So we are in the North Hall in the startup area. So we have a demonstration of our Deep Studio product, and then our Deep Track is being used to fuel the tracking on the Future Group booth in the South Hall.
Wonderful. Well, I've really enjoyed talking with you, and thanks for shedding more light on virtual production. Let's make a date for next year.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This hour sponsored by Dell Technologies, enabling digital transformation for media workflows.